What a weekend series. What a 4-game series, a sweep. And Mike's told us before, it's not easy to sweep a 4-game series, especially against the Royals. Let's talk about it with World Series champion Mike Stanton next.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey there, everybody, and we are back. Welcome back to the bullpen with myself, H-Town Wheelhouse, and Mike Stanton. Look, you find us at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, and here on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out as well on iHeartRadio. You know where to find me at H-Town Wheelhouse. Mike, tell them where they can find you.
On X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Stanton29. That's the only place you can get me. But if you want to go ahead and post something to me, hey, I will answer.
That's right. And I was at the game this weekend on Friday. I saw you there at the game. You were locked in. It was crowded. I was going to say hi to you, but every time I went to say hi, you had the mic up, and I was like, man, I don't want to. I was a little busy. I did look up at one time, and I texted you. I said, dude, where'd you go? And guess where he went? Probably to go buy that hat he's wearing right now. He had to go into the souvenir store, which is, right there at our, just behind our set there in center field. No, yeah, definitely. I actually went in there for the $50, like the $50 Space City jersey. So,
well, there you go.
I mean, why not? I do have I have an H-Town Wheelhouse Space City jersey. It's a 1 of 1. But I added a Yiner Diaz to my collection. I didn't get a Space City hat. That is the one hat, for whatever reason, I haven't gotten yet.
That's my favorite part of the City Connect uniform. That's my favorite part. That is the hat. Yeah, I think that hat is really cool. The jerseys are nice. You can take the pants. I'm not a big fan of the blue pants, but hey, you know what? They didn't ask me when they designed them, so.
Yeah, I don't think they asked a lot of people outside of their factory because there's some of them are going, right. I don't know about those. And it's funny when you express your discontent for another city's City Connect, if it's something that they connect with,
right?
They really take offense to it. They're like,
as they should. I mean, they're put to their, the whole design. I remember when a couple years ago when the Astros came out with theirs, and every aspect of the uniform has a reason. Exactly. And I think that's awesome. And that's what, that's what they're designed for all the way across the country, each team having one. So I think, I was a Washington National twice. And so I like the cherry blossoms they have on their hat. I think that's a really cool hat.
See, I just, so my initial response was, you don't put flowers on baseball jerseys. But when someone explained it to me about the cherry blossoms, because I literally have only been to Washington, D.C. one time. I was in 8th grade. So I don't really recall. I don't think it was during cherry blossom season.
Yeah, it's the spring. It's when in the spring.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's just one of those things where, look, man, other than City Connect uniforms, I tell you who was connecting this series. The pitching.
Oof.
Yordan Alvarez starting to hit at home. I mean, Mike, you and I have talked about this, how difficult it is for a Major League Baseball team to sweep 4 games. Now, we know we saw at the beginning of the year when we had the Dr. Heckle version of the Astros get swept by the Yankees to open the season.
Yeah.
Right. But you say it all the time. I mean, you've been there, done that. It's really hard to make everything click. Now, it's different having a 5-game win streak or 4-game win streak or whatever, but to sweep a 4-game series, that's massive. And against the Kansas City Royals, that's even bigger because there were a couple games where it looked like the Royals pitchers were not going to let up.
Well, the thing was, I mean, the Royals, every starter they ran out there seemingly had like a low 3 ERA. They had all been dealing. You're looking at a team that when you started the series was 16 games over 500. So they were well above the Astros at the time and playing just very good baseball. Not an overly powerful team. I don't think that's not ragging on anybody. They do quite possibly have the best young player on the planet in Bobby Witt Jr. All you have to do is ask Hector Neris, who gave up 2 home runs back-to-back days yesterday and today. But it's a team that's just played good, consistent, hard, quality baseball and have been rewarded with a very good record. But the Astros, man, they didn't match them pitch for pitch. They beat them pitch for pitch. And that the Astros pitching staff just did an outstanding job in the 4-game series. And then, just enough offense. It's just one of those things. When your pitching is dealing, it really takes the pressure off the offense. And the Astros at times, like to score runs early. A lot of times when they score runs early, they don't score late, or they like to get into the flow of the game. And, in the 3rd or 4th or 5th inning, now all of a sudden they start scoring runs. Bottom line is they score runs the way the pitching staff is going, they're going to win the baseball games because they've just been dealing.
Exactly. And you have Bobby Witt Jr., who is in the MVP talk for the American League. And I didn't know.
So good. He is so good. Legit.
But coming into this series, Mike, he was 0-for in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He was 0-for in Arlington. He was 0-for in Houston. And I think his only two of his, I think he might have gotten 3 hits. 2 of his 3 hits were home runs.
Right.
But this kid is just, he even made an error or 2. So, the error bug kind of bit Pena a little bit this weekend. He's committed 6 errors in the last 12 games, and I mean, position players that stuff's going to happen, but he countered it. There was one play, and I forget who hit it, but he went and got a ball to his right, deep in shortstop, basically right at the edge of the grass and where the dirt ends, and just turned and did one of the jump throws, kind of like a Derek Jeter-esque play.
Derek Jeter,
and got the guy out at first. And
Pena had one of those too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, he went out there. Supreme Panda throws a little curveball to us and asks us a question, Mike. He actually has a question for you.
Okay.
He says, how did you start playing baseball, and did you start with hitting? In other words, were you a position player when you started playing baseball?
Yes, I was. Especially when you're young. I didn't really pitch. Yeah, I was left-handed. But, it was one of those things that you play, left-handers, you play first base, you can play outfield. That's about all you can, or pitch. That's kind of all you can do. But I was a hitter. And the funny thing is, when I was in high school, I didn't really pitch. And, I'd always said, I'll never pitch. I want to be an everyday player. Well, God blessed me with a pretty good arm. Played a couple years in college. Didn't really pitch all that much in college either. But the story goes, I went to Southwestern University my first year in college. Okay. It was a small NAIA school, very good. I think we were 8th in the country the one year I was there. And I went there, and it was a tryout. And I went there with my crosstown rival catcher. So I went to Midland High. He went to Midland Lee. We went there together to try out. And we hit. And, they liked the way I swung the bat. I was a pretty good outfielder. I had some speed. Coming off the field, I said, hey, I can pitch too. We went to the bullpen, and I threw. And the whole idea was not that I really wanted to pitch. I was just trying to get a little bit more scholarship money if I could. And they liked what I saw, and I signed as a pitcher / outfielder and never saw the field other than the mound. So that was, I tell kids all the time, I said, listen, you hit and you pitch as long as you possibly can. At some point, the decision will be made, and you're going to miss the other one. And I always loved to hit. I was actually not a bad hitter, even once I made it to the big leagues. Didn't get to swing all that much, but yeah, I think the decision was right.
No, yeah, definitely. Supreme Panda said, thanks for answering his question. He said he started playing baseball late. He said, what are some, and we'll just get one more from him, then we'll move on. What are some tips you have for people who started playing baseball late?
Just get the repetition in and keep loving the sport. Baseball is a tough sport, and what makes it so tough is all the practice. The only way you get better in this sport is by repetition. You just have to keep doing it. Was it ground balls, whether it's throwing bullpens to throw strikes, finding a breaking ball, whether it's your swing and hitting the ball to the to the opposite field, whatever it is, right. Seeing off speed pitches when you get older. You just have to get the repetition, and you need to make sure that you're having fun. I mean, that was something that I always wanted to make sure that anybody I played with, anybody I work with, that they're having fun. Because if you're not having fun, it can be a little monotonous just because of all the repetition for the sport to get better.
So that's probably what it was when we talked about doing this podcast. You were just like, I want to hang out with Brett all the time and talk baseball, right?
Well, you're wrong so many times. Somebody has to correct you. Somebody's got to put you in your place every once in a while. And, I've heard from your mother. Your mother has told me the same thing.
See, that's the thing. That's that you're not.
But she's probably watching.
He probably is. Oh my God. Like, I try so hard to get you to say something nice about me, and you know what though? I think what it is, I think you tear me down so I can be built back up, right?
That's it. Well, listen, here's how I'll give you a little secret.
Okay.
If I didn't pick on you, it means I don't like you.
That's true. That's true. I will take that.
That's the old baseball player in me. You show your how you feel towards someone by how hard you rag them. So there you
go. I like it. That's good. I can totally take that. So the last 4 games, Yordan Alvarez is hitting 400, 6 hits. He had 2 home runs today, nearly had 3 home runs. He has only hit 9 of his 30 home runs at home.
Yeah.
So it's good that he's starting to hit him here. It might have a little bit to do with that batter's eye. They darkened it. I mean, it is dark. It's almost like somebody accidentally didn't paint it green. It looks like someone's like, that's not the right green, because it kind of, everything's green and it's just like dark. I think they say it's Kelly green, but it definitely looks black to me in the background. And sometimes that contrast, and I think it's a little bit of mental, your mind tricking you. But how important is it for someone like Yordan not only to get hot at home, but I mean, we know he can hit on the road, because in the playoffs, if you find yourself into the top 2 seeds, you're going to get more home games early on. So you need your big fella hitting wherever he is.
Well, it's kind of an aberration what's happened this year, and he has struggled. But I think you also have to look at the guys around him all year long. I know Tucker, before he got hurt, he was having an MVP caliber year. Does that have something to do with the struggles of Yordan? Maybe, and not because Tucker was doing well, but because Yordan is always the guy that you put the asterisk beside his name and say, okay, this dude can't beat us. Mm-hmm. And I think pitchers bear down on Yordan. They really work harder on making the quality pitch and make somebody else beat you. And I think what's happening is, he does get mistakes. Everybody gets mistakes. It's just whether you can capitalize on them. And I thought that, especially early in the season, he was pitched very tough. I mean, at some point you can't, you got to remember, what do hitters hit? Well, hitters hit mistakes. And if pitchers don't make mistakes, what do? Well, you hope to foul the ball off to get to the next pitch, which hopefully is a mistake. So, if they're not making a whole lot of mistakes and you only get one and you miss it, the at-bats can be tough. But, we know Yordan can hit. We know he can hit at home. The batter's eye, whatever, he's hit well with other batter's eyes, previous years. So you can't really blame it on the batter's eye just this year, but trying to help out in any way you can. Okay. I understand that. Get that home field advantage. But, I think it's just one of those situations. Could it be a little bit mental after he has struggled for a little while? Of course. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are. When you struggle, you're going to question yourself. And, but it is good to see Yordan have some success. here at home, and to mimic the success he's had on the road.
Exactly. And just a little bit more on that, Yordan right now is hitting 314, 971 OPS. Just another phenomenal day at the plate. You had, I'm looking at the box score. Dubon went 2 for 3 again today. Singleton with a big 2-run home run. Jeremy Pena, this is amazing because you have Singleton. Singleton's not getting as many starts, and I think that's okay. I think Singleton, to me, has shown that he can do it when he's in there. And today, he saved a ball that should have been a double, and he ended up catching it. He barely, he almost got back to first. They didn't quite get the play, but they at least held the guy at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I mention this is because the roster's expanded to 28, and I actually got a message from someone I know close to Forrest Whitley saying, hey, he just got the call. And so he's coming up 18 innings, 22 strikeouts, scoreless 18 in the third innings, pitching really, really well. And then Cesar Salazar comes up. So now Salazar comes up, Mike, as a third catcher. He hit the ball well last time he was up. The pitchers trust him. The younger guys like Arrighetti and Brown worked with him in the minor leagues. Blanco did as well. So that's a big bonus. And now you can move Caratini and Diaz to first base if you want to. That way you don't have to play Singleton every game at first. But you've got a rotation of DHs. You've got Whitley coming in. If Whitley catches fire, let's just say Whitley comes in and he establishes himself and comes in a solid one-inning guy, faces the minimum. Is he a guy that could find his way onto the playoff roster if he performs well? Because A, he doesn't have a ton of tread off his tires, and B, you might strike the iron while it's hot.
You never say no. I mean, I think he's going to have to be exceptionally good, which he's thrown the ball well in the minor leagues. I mean, you can't take the numbers away from him, but he's got to be able to show it here at the big league level. So, the stuff has always been there. There's just been, whether it's injuries or lack of performance or whatever it is, he just hasn't been able to put it together. But does that mean he can't? Of course not. Of course not. And so you keep your fingers crossed, because listen, if he can start executing pitches, and that's what it's all about. It's about putting the ball where you need to put it. And if he can start doing that and getting some hitters out, that's another big weapon, because that's a big time arm coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it is big time, because he has been throwing gas and he's been establishing that. Susan asked us, she goes, are we locked into the 40-man roster from here on out? Does it reset for the playoffs? Can you kind of explain? So 40-man is made, as long as you're on the 40-man roster, you can be in the play. Like if you're on the 40-man roster prior to, I believe, I guess it's August 29th back, that you are eligible to be on the playoff roster, correct?
I think that is the case. I'm not completely, totally read up on the 40-man roster. That's okay. This is what we do. Can the 40-man roster change? The 40-man roster can't change. And the 40-man's more about anything else. It's protection from other clubs.
Right.
Somebody that's on, let's say, Tucker's on the IL, if he comes back, can he be? Of course he can.
Right.
So it's even if somebody's coming off the 60-day IL, which means you're not on the 40-man roster. If you come back, you have to be put on the 40-man roster and then the 28-man roster in order to be eligible to get back into the big league. So the question, the only guys that you would really concern yourself on the 40-man roster would be the guys on the IL. And when they come back, yes, they are eligible for the playoff roster.
Yeah, definitely. And from what we're hearing, as soon as Wednesday, because we have an odd Monday, so we have a 3-game series that starts Monday but ends Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We have a day off after Labor Day in Cincinnati. So the Astros which is good. They get a day off. But from what Espada's saying, Tucker could be back as soon as Wednesday. He was running the bases. He was hitting. at the plate. My question to you is, if they bring him back, do you think he comes back in a DH role to avoid having to put him out in the outfield and cut and all that stuff, to that way his leg is because if he's 80% Tucker, I'll take him hitting the baseball and running bases. I don't know if I want 80% Tucker in right field.
I would say, and listen, we have no additional information. This is just two dudes talking Kyle Tucker baseball. No. I think when he comes back, he's ready to go in right field. Now, is he going to play every day? Probably not. I mean, he probably, play, probably at the beginning, maybe play every other day. But because that the DH spot is a crowded position already.
Well, that's
you
true.
Don't want to throw another guy in there, at least not consistently. So you put him in the rotation. Now, I would expect, because, he's been off of his legs for a long time, and it's going to take him some time to get back in baseball shape, even, with the work he's already been doing. So I think that what you would really see is, him like a spring training thing. You play, for the first few days, you play every other day, and then maybe you play 2 days in a row, and then you have a day off, and you just kind of mix it up until he gets back on his feet. The good thing is you have a full month. You're not talking about just a couple of weeks. Right. He's got some time to kind of ease back into it, get his legs back under him, find his timing, and hopefully get hot right about October 1st.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear right in the right time. I mean, right when you really, really need him. And so Chris Reyes says, so unfortunately, who gets sent down if he's activated? My guess is DeCenzo. Just because I think Whitcomb has been playing more third base, and DeCenzo's been more like your first base guy. You kind of have a log jam there. I think DeCenzo gets sent down, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you have a problem that you have guys that are contributing. I mean, you got Gamble. You're not going to send him down. He's doing his job.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess.
Well, it might be Salazar, because he's the 27th man already. 27, 28, depending on, how you're looking at it. They just expanded the roster. So, DeCenzo's been playing, and he's had a little bit of success. So he might be someone that you end up keeping. You don't know. A lot of times by the time he comes back, even if it is just a couple days from now, somebody comes up sore, somebody has to go on the IL, and that decision is moot. So, it's something that Dana Brown is already thinking about.
Oh yeah.
But it's one of those things that a lot of times the decision is made for you.
Yeah, exactly. And, Espada said before the game that Bregman was not starting because his elbow swelling had come down.
Yeah.
So he was available, quote unquote, to pinch hit today. And I think it's smart. Look, right now, you hate to say this, but this team doesn't necessarily need Bregman the way they're playing. You need Bregman healthy for the playoffs. And if this is something, Mike, that they've decided is going to have to wait, like Bregman said, this is what's wrong, whether it's tendons, whether it's bone spurs, whatever it is. And we've both speculated, but speculated with not knowing any medicals,
right?
That it is probably something where Bregman said, you know what, I'm just going to play through it. Because there's no point in me like knocking myself off the roster. If it's basically pain and nagging and I have to sit out, that's what I'm going to do. So Bregman will definitely be getting, I think, a lot more rest, but that's okay, because if he can at least come in and perform the playoffs and contribute, that's what you want.
I think it's left up to Alex.
Yeah.
I mean, what you've been seeing over the last week or 10 days, I think that's how this is going to be. If he's feeling good, then he's going to be in the lineup. I mean, he's your everyday third baseman, has been for years, MVP caliber, and has been hot as a firecracker the second half of the season. He comes in sore like he did a few days ago. Okay, maybe he takes a few days off. So I think it's just a day-to-day situation that's how you do it. And, the only unfortunate thing is Joe Espada doesn't get to make out the lineup as early. He's going to have to wait till, Alex gets there and says what he feels. But I understand what you're saying. that he's going to get some time off, but you don't want him to have a lot of time off, because then he's going to lose timing at the plate. So I think if he's healthy, he's in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's where Espada goes to him and says, "Hey, Alex, how you feeling today?" And Alex like, "Let's go, let's roll." I heard an interesting story about Ken Caminiti talking about that, and I don't know what made me think about this. This is when he was with the Padres, and the Padres went down, and I don't think it was a regular season game. I think they went down to play an exhibition game in Mexico City, and Ken Caminiti had the flu, and they said he had an IV in him before the game. And then 5 or 10 minutes before the game started, he told the coach, I forget who was coaching the Padres at the time, he said he took his IV out, put a wrap on it, and said, "Coach, I'm ready to go." And he hit 2 home runs that game. So when a gamer is ready to play,
Cammy was a gamer, man. I never played with him, but I played many games against him, and I loved the way he played third base. He played third base like a linebacker. He was as good as anybody in the sport at the time. There's no doubt about it. He was an outstanding fielder, but he tackled the ball. I mean, when he didn't just dive, he tackled the ball. He played like a linebacker, and then had a great arm. So
his arm
he had a cannon. So that makes complete sense, because you also have to remember that Mexico City is a hitter's dream, because it's like, I want to say it's like 7,500 feet.
Yeah, I think it's the tallest. It's
way up there. It's like Colorado Springs high.
Yeah, it is. It's like Pikes Peak almost.
I remember I've gone to Mexico City for an exhibition game, and I remember really not wanting to pitch, because the stadium we played in,
about that. Yeah.
It was old school AstroTurf, and it was as fast as a parking lot. So anything on the ground shoots through the infield. And then if you get it in the air, it went 900 feet. So it was not a place that there were a whole lot of outs recorded.
Right, exactly. And I remember Ken Caminiti. There was one play in particular, and I believe they were playing the Expos, and I think it was a Spike Owen hit, if I remember correctly. It was hit to where it bounced, and it was kind of going. It went around third, so it was fair. And Caminiti literally dove, and so his whole body was on the other side of the foul line. He got up on his knees and threw him out on his knees, like with 2 or 3 steps left. I mean, I was like, he
did another one, did the same thing, but instead of coming up on his knees, he kind of just jumped sideways towards the third base dugout and threw as he spun, if that makes any sense. So he was spinning parallel to the ground, and then just throws a rocket to first base. I mean, there's been a lot of good third basemen. Nolan Arenado is one of them, just incredible. Not just good, but incredibly creative in how he plays. Bregman is as solid as you can get, and he makes some great plays, but you don't see like the acrobatic things like Caminiti did or Nolan Arenado does every once in a while.
Exactly. So, Mike, I want to get into this division race, because the Astros now find themselves 6 games in first place.
Seattle lost today.
Seattle lost again, and they go to Oakland, and Oakland's been playing really good baseball.
What do I always say? It's not who you play, it's when you play them.
That's right. And so they are now 3 games behind Cleveland for the number 2 seed. And they are only 4 games behind, or 4.5 games behind the Yankees. The Yankees have lost 2 in a row.
Isn't that incredible?
I mean, this is a Yankees team that you thought was going to already have 115 wins by now. I mean, They were killing everybody.
Either them or Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly. And
Baltimore, they're still neck and neck.
Yeah, Baltimore. So you have the Yankees and Cleveland in front of the Astros. Okay, so basically the Yankees and Baltimore are going back and forth like the Mariners and the Astros were going. And then you have Minnesota and Kansas City. You still have it. Look at that. AL Central, 3 teams qualifying for the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. But Mike, how big would it be for this team this year to be able to be a 1 or 2 seed and have that week off, have that week where you get to rest your guys? And this, to me, I feel like it's more important this year than it's ever been.
I can see that, and I don't disagree with you. Okay. But I'm also not the biggest fan of baseball teams taking long times off, because you don't ever get that. Other than the All-Star break, you get 4 days. All the rest of the time, you're playing, usually 6 games a week at least.
Right.
Sometimes even more. So it's and you get used to that routine. And whether it's the pitcher's delivery, having their timing and tempo, facing big league hitters, or even more important, the hitters, seeing live pitching in a game situation, because just seeing live pitching is not the same as being in a game situation.
Exactly.
You can get out of a rhythm, but I understand what you're saying, because the Astros have got some bumps and bruises, and it would be nice the bullpen to rest a little bit. But it could be huge. There's no doubt about it. To get that bye in the first round, I think would be really remarkable, because you have to remember where this team was. It wasn't all that long ago. What, mid-May?
Yeah.
That they were 12 games under 500, 10 games back in the division. The Seattle Mariners were running away with it. It looked like the Astros, they were floundering like crazy. There's no way they're going to have to work their butts off all summer just to get back to relevancy, which is 500. And you look at where they are now. I mean, you're arguably one of the best teams in all of Major League Baseball in the second half.
They are. And when I remember Sean Salisbury asked, because they visit with Dana Brown every Wednesday morning, and he asked him, he was like, so do you think this team can make the playoffs? If they make the playoffs, they have to play 65, like 650 ball. And Dana's like, we can do it. We just got to go on a run. And then I remember he goes, we're about a week away. I was like, what does Dana Brown know that we don't know? And they literally have played between 63 and 65% win percentage.
You know what Dana Brown knew? The schedule.
True. Very true.
They did not play well early, and we've been over this. It's kind of monotonous how much we've been over this, but they did not play well early in the season, but they were also playing a very tough schedule. So to tell you the truth, it worked out just fine, because against that tough part of the schedule, which the Astros just went through, you look at it and what do you want to do in those situations? You want to tread water. You want to stay 500. Well, they weren't able to do that, but they got hot when they started playing better baseball. Their pitching really picked up. They started hitting the ball, and with runners in scoring position, you remember that was a big problem early. Yeah. And then what happened? I mean, they started playing a little lighter part of the schedule, and they just started winning games in bunches.
Exactly. And just know that we are brought to you by Ram Shirts, live from the Ram Shirts Studios. We got our Back to the Bullpen shirt. It says with Mike and Brett, we got a really cool logo on the back. So make sure you check it out. If you're watching, there's a QR code. If not, go to ramshirts.com and just look for Back to the Bullpen. And if you need to get that haircut, look, guys, I know that tell your kids homecoming's coming up. Why? Because they need to send them to state-of-the-art barbershop with Ever, 1616 South Friendswood Drive. I know in my area where I'm living, Clear Springs, Clear Creek, Clearbrook, Lake, Friendswood, all the surrounding schools, you need someone, get on the calendar, go tell them Back to the Bullpen sent you, get 10% off your haircut. And so thank y'all.
And that's the why, my boy Brett here needs to get over there, because that's why he's wearing a hat all the time, is because he needs to tighten up his flow a little bit. Maybe trim up the beard.
I wish I had flow.
And those that maybe have a little gray in their beard, they can color the beard for you. I'm just saying.
Oh man, I'm not good Lord, man. What's next? My weight? No.
Well, no, I don't want to hurt your feelings. So.
God, brutal, man. We're supposed to be friends, not frenemies.
I wasn't pointing the finger at anybody.
Okay. You have 3 more pointing back at you, sir.
That's right.
No, but colored. Like, you know what? I've honestly thought as a teacher of getting some of that just for men, like color, and just like coloring it a really obnoxious, like really dark black, where it looks really awkward, and just go in and see if the kids notice anything and don't say anything about it. And they're like, what's different about you? And go, what are you talking about? And
I think that would be awesome. I think you should do it.
But
and then we should do a podcast so everybody can see.
That would be horrible. I'd have to be like this. Oh man, too much fun here. So
maybe I should not like you so much. Is that what you're saying?
I think. So, you have a guy like Jose Altuve who hit, he's got 150 hits again.
Mm-hmm.
Yordan Alvarez is putting himself into elite company in Astros history, because there's only 2 other Astros in Astros history who have hit 30 home runs in 3 seasons or more. Do you know who those 2 Astros are? I bet you can guess.
Killer bees. Bagwell, and I'll go with Lance Berkman.
Yes, Lance Berkman and Jeff Bagwell. That's correct.
Oh,
I believe Berkman did it 5 times.
Yeah. I didn't cheat.
There you go. There you go. I believe Berkman did it 5 times, and I think Bagwell did it like 13 or something. Like
the Killer Bees.
Yeah, the Killer Bees.
2 of the Killer Bees.
Well, I remember someone had a sign that said the Killer Bees, and you had like Brad Osmus. Someone put Bossmus, so they put a B. They put a B.
You use Brad. You
use Brad. But you had like George Bell. I mean, that was a great era of Astros baseball. And speaking of, someone mentioned this, it was I didn't realize, I forgot today was the dog day.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, there were so many dogs, man. There were these 2 bulldogs, and they were from completely different like families.
Mm-hmm.
These bulldogs, like one of them looked like he had been like lifting weights. And they had one of the 713. They each had a 713 chain. And It was the coolest thing. They had their dogs draped like baseball hats. I mean, it was so cool. And then what was cool is you had all these local businesses that were selling homemade dog treats. And it's kind of a cool thing when they do that. But I forgot how crowded it is in.
Well, it's only in one area.
Yeah.
So it's Home Run Alley, which is behind the Crawford boxes to center field. So there's and then it goes down around the corner just a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the only place that the dogs are allowed. And at times there are a lot of dogs out there.
There was a dog. I thought it was a horse. I thought it was a Clydesdale. It was massive. I don't know what it was.
It could be one of my dogs. I have 2 Great Danes.
Oh, you know what? We should do that. We should do that. We should like bring our dogs somewhere and like do a show with the dogs. My dog Milo.
I could probably get him in here. One of them.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, funny story about a Great Dane, and I know we're kind of going off the rails here, but I had watched a friend of mine's Great Dane. His name was Job. Okay. Like Job from the Bible. Mm-hmm. And so I was told all I needed to do was go in there, let him out of his kennel, let him go to the bathroom, let him eat. And then I got a call from my friend. He said, you know what? Go ahead and let Job out and see how he does. I'm like, okay. So I let him out all day. I got to their house and I can't find Job. He's not in his kennel. The kennel is like 8 feet tall. And I'm looking around for Job. I go around the corner, look in the living room. He's sitting on the couch, almost like a human.
Yep.
There is a remote by his paw. He turned the TV on and he was watching the TV. And I'm not lying. It was a Discovery Channel and it happened to be like the Westminster Dog Show.
There you go.
And so I text my friend. I'm like, dude, your dog just turned it to a dog show. He goes, no way. I said, yes. The next day I came back, he was watching cartoons. I was like, your dog is, I think he used to be a human. Yeah, Great Danes are great animals.
Love them. We've had so many of them, and we got 2 right now. And they are absolutely sit on the couch. They think they're lap dogs. They want to sit in your lap.
Yeah. Now, are they terrified of storms? Like when it starts?
One of them is.
Okay, this dog, you would think he was this big.
Yes.
I'm like, you were.
That's one of the things. They don't know how big they are. The one that's afraid of storms is also afraid of small dogs.
Oh my God.
So a Chihuahua walks down the street, Enzo is running. He's gone. And in his prime, now he's older now, but in his prime, this dog weighed over 240 pounds.
Holy!
So whenever he decided he was going somewhere, you're not stopping him.
So do you ever have any baseball injuries off the field from your dogs?
I have not. I was blessed to be pretty healthy in my career.
Right.
And no, I never. But I can tell you, I was talking to a neighbor one day. This was a little while back, and the garbage truck came by, and I had to let him go because he was going to drag me down the street on my face if I didn't let go. And the funny thing is, when he runs straight to the front door, he's like, "Let me in. I'm done."
Hey, I'll tell you one more thing. I'll tell you the exact opposite of that story. We had a basset hound one time. His name was Timothy. We named him Timothy of all names. When this dog took off, when he ran, he was like a Corvette. He would like Corvettes. If you're in them and you like really kick them in gear, they sit, right. This kind of like, this is what he did. This dog, when he saw other dogs in dog park, he would take off. His ears would
flapping in the wind. Awesome.
But that dog was fast. He could keep up with a really athletic dog for about 30 feet.
Yeah, right. He was a sprinter.
That's right. Well, hey, you know what, Mike, I think this is good, but I think taking a 5-game win streak into Cincinnati is huge. Cincinnati's got some hitters. They got Ellie De La Cruz. They got Jonathan.
Place to pitch.
Yeah, they've got some pitchers. It is a hitter's ballpark.
Oh my gosh. I know from experience. The Great American Launching Pad.
The Great American, I was going to say the Great American Ballpark, but yes, y'all called it the launching pad. Yeah, and look, we saw them take on Milwaukee, and them both kind of traded home runs. So hopefully the Astros can get the better of them too. And hey, hopefully Yordan can get to 33, 34 home runs while he's in Cincinnati. That'd be nice.
He keeps getting the ball in the air, especially in Cincinnati. We know the ball flies, and they go from there to Arizona and play the Diamondbacks. So, they're kind of still have to keep playing good, consistent baseball. 100%. But they got to love where they are right now. And you got to love the way they played in this last series because Kansas City Royals were no pushover.
No pushover. You're right. And to get a 4-game sweep from them was good because, and I'll end with this, Cole Reagan's tied a franchise record, 8 strikeouts in a row.
So good.
And then they knock him out. Mm-hmm. He was not happy.
Oh, I'm sure. But I'll tell you what, would you take that arm in your rotation? Just about every day.
100%. No, he's a darn good pitcher. Well, Mike, thanks, man. This has been great. Got to talk about dogs tonight. Got to
we covered it all.
Yes.
Including your beard.
You have a way with words, Mike. You edifier you. Oh,
I'll work on not liking you so much.
I know. I hear you. It's all good. Oh, Siri's talking to me. I think Siri said, "Do you need a counselor?"
Need a shrink. You work with Stanton. You need a shrink.
I do. I need a shrink who has a shrink for the shrink. Well, hey, man. Thanks, Mike. Thank y'all, everybody, man. We have literally have had nearly 300 people watching tonight. We're awesome. Live on all platforms. And hey, hopefully after a good Red Series, maybe we come back midweek and talk to the people and see how the Astros are doing. Because Yusei Kikuchi just struck out 12 batters. Justin Verlander goes tomorrow, then a day off. So it's going to be a fun series in Cincinnati. For myself and the Ramshirt Studios and Mike and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, y'all have a good one. And if your beard is gray, you know where to go.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, and I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heater low in the way, you can't hit it. Know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk your back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put on back to the bullpen. Oh yeah.